Hello, my name is Elise, and I'm going to be talking about some of the books I've been reading over the past, oh gosh, I think it's been like maybe 2 months since I last posted a video. I have been really busy trying to find a new job, and I finally did. And so I was training and all of that, and it was just a lot. So I have taken a little break from doing my little reviews, but I'm going to get back into it. And I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I have 8 books I want to review today. So let's start off with The Huntress by Quinn. Now, Quinn is one of my favorite historical fiction writers. I think the reason I like her so much is because, okay, so the way that she writes, it brings everything together, because she likes to do like these dual timeline tropes, and I love those. I love when, it can be a little disorienting when you're jumping from different characters and different years, I guess, but when it all comes together in the end is like mind-blowing. I love that, and she does that so well. And she also does a lot of the strength of women and like the hardships of women and what they have to go through to overcome just like the things that men put them through, the things that society has put us through, and I love that too. Some of her other books that I've read that I absolutely adored were The Rose Code. That one was excellent. And The Alice Network, which I liked a little less, but it's still, I think it was like a 4.75 for me. Loved it. But anyway, The Huntress is about 3 characters in 3 different years. And I guess they kind of all meet up in the end for like a big, wow. So the first character is Nina Markova. And Nina Markova is this girl who lives alone with her father in Siberia, which is in Russia, but it's like the outskirts of Russia. It's like below freezing temperatures most of the year. She has to hunt for their food. They have no money. They live in a town of like 10 people. Like she doesn't know anything about like city life, nothing like that. And her father is an alcoholic and useless, and yeah, it usually goes hand in hand. But something tragic happens between her and her father, and she runs away from the town. She says, I'm going to run as far as... So basically, she's like, where we live is as far east as you can get. Like, the ass end of the earth to the east. And she's like, I'm just going to go to as far west as I can get. She just wants to get as far away from the town that she grew up in with her father. And so she ends up in, I think it's the nearest city. And it's her first time being in a city, and she's like, oh my gosh, like everything's, wow, didn't realize life was like this. And she sees a plane for the first time, and she falls in love. So she is now obsessed with planes. She wants to become a pilot. That's like, she has realized her life's goal. And during this time period, I think it's like the late 1930s, maybe 38 or 37, and she wants this so bad, but people are like, but you're a woman. Like, you can't be a pilot. You're a woman. Like, that's crazy. And so she does everything she can to be able to learn how to be a pilot, because she needs this. She wants this. So then we jump to our second protagonist, and his name is Ian Graham. And this time period, I think it's 1950. And so he was a war correspondent or a journalist that was like in the trenches during World War II. And he has a lot of trauma from that. And he basically lost his love of writing, of journalism. But now he's like set on finding all of the Nazis that escaped justice and bringing them to justice. So all of the people that ran when the Nuremberg trials were going on, and after they were over, just kind of like got new names and just kind of slid into society, like, oh yeah, I'm from Austria, and I just wasn't part of the war, didn't do anything wrong, he finds those people and brings them to justice, and he's like super hell-bent on this, and we kind of find out why that is during the course of the story. The third protagonist, and my personal favorite, is Jordan McBride, and this girl, she's living in post-war Boston, and I think the year is 1946 for her timeline. And she is just this rambunctious girl, just obsessed with photography. She loves photography. She wants to go to college and learn to be a photographer. She wants this so bad. She's got the brains. She's got a dark room in her house that she makes, does her photographs, prints them out, and she's just really good at it. But again, her father, who she lives with, just her and her father live alone because her mother passed away. Her father's like, but you're a woman. Like, you need to get married and have babies, and you don't need to go to college, because what's college going to do for a woman? You don't need that. So basically, she doesn't want to upset her father because she loves him. They're very close. But she doesn't want to, like, give up, the life that she dreams of. She wants to have the best of both worlds. She wants to do the whole photography college thing, but she also wants to make her father happy, and she's kind of stuck in between that. Now, the other side of her story is her father is lonely because it's just been them two forever. So she's like, oh, I'm almost 18. Like, I don't want him to be just here alone. I want him to find someone. And he finds someone and falls in love, and she's super excited. But then she meets her, and she's like, can't put my finger on it, but there's something with this woman. And she's kind of stuck in between, should I say something? Should I not? I want him to be happy, but maybe not with this lady. And so she's just kind of doesn't know what to do. So those are the three protagonists. And the way that Kate Quinn writes it's straight to the point, but it's beautiful. And I some part of me feels like maybe it's beautiful because, and I might be totally wrong, but I feel like everybody back in that time period talked more beautiful than we do today. And so it might not be just her writing, it's maybe just like emulating the style that the way people talked, back in the day. So I don't know, but I am very partial to World War II stories. But I think even if you're not, you would really love this story. And the way she brings them all together at the end and the resolution, perfect. I loved it. Very good. Next, I read Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. And I heard about this one from several different booktubers. They highly recommended it. Everybody had really great things to say about this one. And I did really enjoy it, but I had some problems with it. And not necessarily with the story, with the writing. It was a great story. It had a good ending. I guess. But basically, this book is one of those kind of books that every character that's in it, you get inside of their brain because they get their own chapters, like from their viewpoint. And I like those kind of books because then we can kind of really get to know every character, where they're coming from, and how they process information, what they're really thinking and saying, and how those two maybe don't line up. And I like those kind of books. The main character, or one of the main characters, is Dominic Salt. And he is a grieving man because his wife passed away. Not recently, but, grief there's no expiration date on grief. So he's a grieving man, and he is the caretaker of this place called Shearwater. And that's like, it's an island very close to Antarctica. So you can imagine like what kind of climate it's like there, and like the kind of animals they have. I think there's like seals and penguins, and it's not like a very lush environment. And he is basically in charge of the island. He's in charge of caretaking it. He's in charge of the major seed vault that's there. That basically a seed vault is, because of the freezing temperatures of Shearwater, scientists all over the world, they cultivate these seeds from everything, all of the plants, everything that's available on planet Earth, and they package it up and they send it to Shearwater, and they catalog it so that if there's like an apocalypse or whatever happens, they can regrow those items. Like if all the pine trees in the world are wiped out, they can go to the seed vault and get the pine tree seeds and replant them and rebuild the world that way. So that's basically his job, is to make sure nothing happens to the seed vault and everything, the electricity stays running, everything's cold enough, and so on. And he lives there alone with his 3 children, and the oldest is named Raff, and he's I think he was about 18, maybe 19-year-old boy, and he has anger problems. I guess that's like the most easiest way to describe his character. He's got anger problems. And then there's Fen, and Fen is the only girl on the island, so you can imagine that's, that must be hard. And she is a total water baby. She loves the water. She could just live in the water, and she's a huge animal lover. She hangs out with the seals, with the penguins. She's just like one of them, she's one of those kind of girls, And she's probably about 17, maybe 16. And then there's Orly, and Orly's the youngest, and he's a little boy, and super cute, but maybe a little autistic in the way that he's just like full of all this obscure knowledge. Like he knows everything about like, I can't even say like some sort of plant or like some sort of like just environmental stuff. Like he just knows all these crazy scientific terms, and just it's kind of like a little bit extreme. And I don't remember them saying his age, but I think 8 or 9 maybe. So the 4 of them live here on this island, and they all have to contribute to the running of the island, because it's not like there's TVs, and it's work to live on an island like by yourself in the middle of nowhere, And so one day during a storm, this lady washes up on the beach, and Fen finds her, and she's like almost dead. She's got horrible cuts and open wounds, and she's nearly drowned, and they nurse her back to health, and she finally wakes up, and they ask her name, and her name's Rowan. And immediately there's like this weird tension, and it's like, what's going on? What? She's like freaked out by them, they're freaked out by her, and you're just like, what? Like, it keeps you turning the pages. You want to find out what's really going on, because there's something going on. Now, the problem I had with this book, and it's not a problem with the writing, with Charlotte McConaghy, anything. I would literally describe this as the biggest misunderstanding in the world, and the things that happened did not have to happen if people would just freaking communicate. So that was my problem. I was just like beating my head against the wall, like, oh my goodness. Because you're seeing the story from everybody's point of view. So like, what's going on and happening before they do. And you see them thinking things and saying another thing, and you're like, no, just be honest, or just, you know what I mean? But of course, there would be no story if everything just was perfect, so I get that. But, oh my gosh, it just killed me. I was just like, ugh. So, but I really did like the book. And you know what's crazy is, like, everybody on BookTube was talking about how beautiful the island seemed, and I'm like, what? Like, that can't be. Like, what? Like, it's not like that's not a beautiful place. But the way that she describes it is just, it makes it you see it from the eyes of the people that loved it. You know what I mean? And it's just like, she does such a good job at that. And I think I just got another one of her books I'm super excited to read. I think Migrations, I think is what it's called. But I'm reading that because I love her writing. Like, I didn't think I would like it as much as I did. But I do. I'm really excited to read that, the Migrations one next. So, next one that I read was The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England by Brandon Sanderson. And I was super excited to read this. I got this from my sister for Christmas. Thank you, Annika. And I have never read anything by Brandon Sanderson yet. It's on my TBR, but it's like a whole thing. I think it's called, what, the Cosmere? I want to delve into the Cosmere, like, all at once. I don't want to just, like, read one and then wait a long time. I have to, like, reserve some time to, like, attack that. But this, she told me, is, it's not part of the Cosmere universe. It's just, like, a standalone, something that he did just, like, for shits and giggles. And I loved it. It was such a fun read. It's one of those kinds of books where the main character, from the very beginning, first word, first chapter, he has no idea who he is. He's got the amnesia. And he doesn't know who he is, where he is, what he's doing, or why, or anything. And this whole book is, you have to join him on his journey to figure that out, because he literally has no idea. And you're kind of deciphering the clues along with him. And just the premise of this book is awesome. If this was a real freaking thing, oh my gosh. The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England? Yes, please. Like, I would love to go to medieval England. I mean, maybe not forever. And maybe not during, the Black Plague, like 1349-ish. I probably wouldn't want to go then. And there's probably some other time periods I wouldn't want to visit either. But I would love to just experience it. I mean, I love books written about that time period. It would be so interesting to see everything how people lived back then, because it's just mind-boggling to us today, you know. But anyway, so this guy, he doesn't even know his name, and he wakes up in, like, this field, and he's inside of this burning circle. It's like I think 10-foot diameter burning circle, and the entire thing is blacked out, like it's all burned plants except for the shape of his body. So he's like, what is happening? And the only thing that he can see besides trees and the grass and the burned stuff is this paper, and it's actually multiple papers that have blown all around. But on the paper, or it's the title page or whatever, and it says The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, 4th edition by Cecil G. Bagsworth III, or something like that. And I think that's like a character that Brandon Sanderson has used before, but again, I wouldn't know because I haven't read anything yet. But anyway, so he's like, okay, am I in a theme park, or am I a cosplayer? Like, he literally has no idea what that means. But so he tries to begin to read the pages, but he's got to find them all. They're like, they've blown everywhere and burned, and he's just kind of like, and every time he finds like a page that has like important information on it, it'll like cut off right before the good part. Like, it'll be like, if you find yourself in a situation where you don't know who you are or what you're doing, then... and then nothing. So it's just like, it's so hilarious the way that he writes and the shenanigans that he gets up to and the people that he meets. And it's cool because I think I've heard from other people that Brandon Sanderson doesn't really like ease you into like the terms like that are used or like the language used in the different universes or whatever. You just kind of like, he'll say something and you got to figure out from like context clues and like what that means. Like, I think in this book they talk about whites and I'm like, what is a white? Like, and it's spelled W-I-G-H-T. And there's no explanation. You have to figure it out. And I like that. I like that because I don't want the author to pretend I'm dumb. You know what I mean? I want to prove that I'm smart. Because I'm smart. I read. So, I must be smart, right? But anyway, I had such a good time reading this book. I think I read it in like a day and a half. And the ending was good. The ending was really good. I had a really, really good time. I think it could have been a longer book, but I read I think it was the afterword or the foreword or postscript or something like that. And this was just like a weird idea that he had, and he didn't even know he was going to write a book about it. He just was jotting down some funny little tidbits, and then it just kind of like eventually evolved into this book. So, but I would have liked to spend a little bit more time here in this universe, because it was pretty good. And there's like little, at the beginning of the chapters, it gives you little, I guess, examples of like what was in the handbook. There's like little cartoons, and there's little like footnotes and FAQs. Like, it's an adorable book. I really, really loved it. But it's not, my sister told me it wasn't typical. It's like not like a typical Brandon Sanderson book. It's just like completely different from what he usually does. So, but I'm sure I'll like his normal stuff too. I really, really enjoyed this. This was really, really a great read. Thanks. Thanks, Annika. Next, I read The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentill, I think. I hate names that are hard to say. I think it's Sulari Gentill. And this book literally blew my mind. I thought it was going to be one thing. I thought it was going to be like that Agatha Christie book where they find a body in the library or whatever. Nope. This book is so much more. Like, okay, so it's in epistolary format, which is, it's told through letters. There's letters. I don't think there's diary. No, there's not diary entries. There's just letters. And it's, so I don't think this is a spoiler. No, I don't think this is a spoiler. Because honestly, the back of the book, or the inside of the jacket, it doesn't really explain it well. Like, it makes it out to be something that it's not. I mean, and I would have bought it anyways, like, if it was still like that, but it was just so much better than that. Like, I don't know, whoever wrote that just didn't encapsulate this book as well as they could have. Basically, there's 4 people sitting at a table in the Boston Public Library reading room, and they're in a library, so it's silent because no talking in a library. And all of a sudden there's like a piercing scream, and everybody's like, oh my god, like, what was that, what's happening? And security's like, everybody stay in their seats, and while we go try to figure out what happened. And so these people are just trying to make small talk because it's awkward, they're kind of scared, like, what's happening? And so these 4 strangers kind of become like fast friends. And the security guards come back and they're like, okay, we didn't find anything. It must have been a prank. Like, everybody's fine to go. And so these four people are like, okay, let's go get lunch. Let's talk. And they become really, really good friends. Like, those kind of friends that you meet like one day, and then the next day you hang out, and then the next day you hang out, and the next day you hang out, and then pretty soon they're like your best friend, even though you've known them like a week. That's basically the situation that's going on in this book. But there's also, okay, and this book is really hard to explain, so I'm sorry if I'm like jumping all over the place. So the main character, her name is Freddie. And then you have the letters, okay? And they're after each chapter. You get a chapter with Freddie, and then you get a letter. And the letter is to someone named Hannah. And they're from someone named Leo. And it starts out really cool, like really nice. Like, thank you. He says, thank you, Hannah, for sending me your last chapter. I had a really fun time reading it. And he gives her like pointers on what could happen next in the plot. So basically, you kind of surmise that Hannah is the main character, but you never meet her. You meet her through her writing. She's writing this book. And so Freddie's not real. I mean, it's mind-blowing. So, but you never meet Hannah. You only know Freddie. But Freddie's in Hannah's imagination. This book is so freaking deep. So, while you're finding out, so the whole thing with Freddie, Hannah's book, Freddie's got this plot line. It's a plot line, you're very into it. But then on the other side of it, Hannah has her own plot line, even though you never meet her, through the letters from Leo. And it starts getting a little intense. So, like, you'll be reading and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to Freddie? And then all of a sudden it's back to Hannah. And then you're like, oh my gosh, what's happening with Hannah? Like, and it's just like, it's so freaking good. This book literally blew me away. I couldn't believe how good it was. Had no idea it was going to be like that going in. And gosh, I want to say more, but I really can't, because that would just ruin it. And I don't want this to be ruined for you, because it's that good. So I highly suggest The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentill. And the next book I read was The Bookwoman's Daughter by Michele Richardson. Now, this book is the sequel to this book, The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek by Michele Richardson. And this book I read last year. This book was so interesting because the main character is a blue. And I don't know if you know what that is, but basically a blue is, okay, back in Kentucky in the I think this book takes place in the 1930s. They're in the Appalachian Mountains, and you know that in Appalachia there's incest and stuff like that. So anyways, there is a rare genetic mutation, and oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to get this right, called methemoglobinemia, something like that, methemoglobinemia, I think. And basically your skin is blue, like a dark cerulean blue. And there was a whole family of these people. And I think even in the back of the book, there's pictures, but they're black and white. So, because in the 1930s it was black and white, so you can't really see their skin color. But I looked it up online, and this is like a real thing. So anyways, these people are treated like black-skinned people because they're colored. They're different. Basically, it's whoever's different is not good. Less than is basically the mindset. So, in the 1930s in the Appalachian Mountains, there was and this is not based on a real story, but based on a real time period, like a thing that happened. There was a thing called the Kentucky Pack Horse Project. And basically it was these women that were they delivered library books to the people in the Appalachian Mountains, so that they could have things to read, because during this time period it was a way for Teddy Roosevelt, I think it was Teddy Roosevelt, for him to he approved this project so that women could get money because of the war and the depression and everything like that. People needed money. They were starving. People were actually starving and needed a way to make money. So he approved this government project so that women could earn. And they basically, they earned $28 a month, I think. Yeah, or a week. It was either a week or a month. I don't know. But, so they would have a library route. And so they would go to the library or the depot and they would pick up the books, and then they would like take their mule or their pony or their horse up the mountain to the people that lived up there and deliver the books. And they would do that like twice or three times a week. And the lady that's a blue in this book, she is obsessed with books. Her name is Cussie Mary Carter, and I love the name Cussie. I think that's an awesome name. Cussie, come on. Cussie, yes. And so they don't want to give her the job because she's a blue, so she's considered less than. But she manages to convince them, and she just does so much good with this job, bringing people books, and part of it is reading to people too, because people don't go to school like they're not forced to go to school like they are today. So sometimes they have to work from a young age to provide, so a lot of these people don't know how to read, so they would order these books through Cussie from the library, but then they can't read them. So she would sit and read to them like during her stop, and I thought that was really cool, and that's a real thing that happened too. The story arc in this book, basically, it follows how Cussie, how she deals with the discrimination and what she does to continue having respect for herself and showing respect to others, but standing her ground, and how she gets by being the only one of her kind, basically. Because most of her family members have passed on. So she's like one of the only blues left. And she doesn't fit in with the white people. They don't want anything to do with her. They think she's disgusting. They think she's less than. But she doesn't fit in with the black people because she's not black. She literally doesn't fit in anywhere with anyone. And there's this really, really cool thing that's included in the book that I guess it's a real thing. I had no idea they did this, but there was I don't know what it's called, like a tapered candle. And the father of a young girl, not a young girl, but like a girl of courting age, he would light the candle and put it in the window. And that meant that she was receiving courters. She was receiving people that wanted to court her. And so they would come and knock, and they would come in, and they would make conversation and get to know one another. And so if she didn't want it to be a long visit, she would kind of move the taper up so that there would only be like 2 minutes left of the wick. Or if she wanted it to last longer, if she liked the guy, she would like extend it. She'd keep putting it down. And I thought that was cool. And that's a real thing that they used to do. I had no idea. That's interesting. And then so she meets this guy, and he's a white guy, and they fall in love, but because of and I don't know how to say this word, miscegenation. Basically, it's a law in Kentucky where people of two different races can't be together. They can't get married. They can't be seen together. They can't anything together because I don't even know the reasoning for that. Unholy, whatever. They just don't, it's a law. You can go to prison for it. And so it kind of shows like how she deals with that and how they deal with that and all bull crap that they have to go through. And just this book, I mean, it's not very long. See the print. It's not very small, but this book just takes you away. Like, you literally just feel everything that she goes through. And I think it's so cool because I've never I've never read a book about blue people. I didn't even know they were a thing. And so that's cool. That's what books do for us, is they teach us things, that we didn't know. And I love books about books. I love books with characters that love books, because I really resonate with that, and that's this book to a T. But anyway, that's not the book that I read this last couple weeks. It was this one, the sequel, The Bookwoman's Daughter. And as you can tell, it's about Cussy's daughter. Who would have guessed? But yeah, her name is Honey. And she's a blue, but the affliction doesn't affect her all the time like it does Cussy. Cussy is always blue. She's blue everywhere. Every part of her body is blue. But Honey only gets blue in her face and her hands when she gets nervous. Because remember, it's a blood disorder. It's a blood disease. And so whenever she has like her blushing, or she has anxiety or something, her fingertips turn blue, and her palm and her cheeks and stuff. So she can pass as white. So she doesn't face nearly as much discrimination as Cussy does, but it's still there. Like, it's still there for sure. Like, people would be talking to her one minute and everything's fine, and they're like, oh yes, da 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 da, and then she would blush and they'd be like, ugh, you're gross. And like, I just can't imagine. That would just be so awful. But this book, so in the beginning, and this is not a spoiler because it's on the back of the book, so, but her mother and her father are imprisoned for, violating miscegenation laws. And so they're taken to prison, and she goes on the run because since she's under 18, I think she's 16 and a half. And she goes on the run because she can't be caught by them, because they will, since her parents are imprisoned, they would send her to the Children's House of Reform. And even though when she turns 18, she would legally be an adult, if she goes to the House of Reform before she's 18, they can legally keep her till she's 21. And the House of Reform is a terrible place. You have to wear leg chains, do hard work, like grueling work 24/7, and many of the children that go there don't come out. Like, they pass away from all the stuff that they have to endure in there. And so she's terrified. She doesn't want to go there. And just like the injustice of that, like, she didn't do anything. The only thing, none of them did anything. And like this, it blows my mind that used to be a thing. It's just devastating to think about. But so she goes on the run, and this book is about her trying to evade capture, and also trying to provide for herself, because she's 16 and a half. She doesn't have family. She doesn't have anything, and it shows her trying to do something meaningful that means something to her. And of course, she loves books too, just like her mom. So what she does is she lobbies to get the pack horse job, like her mom did, because I guess the pack horse project that Roosevelt, did I say Teddy Roosevelt? I think maybe it was FDR. Okay, anyways, that Roosevelt instigated, it only ran for a couple years, and then they canceled it, or they didn't refund it. And then, so they finally, I think this book, the other book was in the 1930s. I think this is in the 40s. And then so they finally, the library got funded itself so that they could reinstate this project. And so she lobbies to get the job, just like her mom had it. And she's got a love interest as well. And I'm not really big into like romance books, but when it's done tastefully like this, I love it. I love it. So this book just, I think the first one was better, but after I got to know and love the characters, I mean, just, it was such a delight returning to this world, to Kentucky in the Appalachian Mountains with the blues. I loved it. So, The Bookwoman's Daughter by Michele Richardson. So the last book I read was actually a sequel to a book I read about, I want to say 4 months ago, and that book was The Plot by, I don't want to say this wrong, Hanff Korelitz, or I don't freaking know. But anyway, Hanff Korelitz. And this book was, okay, so this book was great. Now, it was a thriller, but it's a story about a writer. And writers can be a little pretentious, and she plays that up, the pretentiousness of this man, and his name is Jacob Finch Bonner, and the Finch isn't even a real middle name. He added it to sound more frickin' pretentious, and he succeeded. So Jacob Finch Bonner, he's a writer that had a really, not a best-selling novel, but like a really well-received novel, and he had, experienced a little bit of, a little bit of fame, just a tiny little taste, and so he's feeling real high and mighty, and then his second novel was, nobody liked it, so he's like, the fame, I want the fame, where'd the fame go? And he just kind of like gets worse and worse and worse until like his agent doesn't want to have nothing to do with him. And basically the story starts off where he's teaching at an MFA program at like this not great little college that nobody cares about. And he's just super depressed. He doesn't care about his job because he's just like, he feels like he's been wronged. He feels like, oh, I have such talent and nobody realizes it, and yada, yada, yada. This character is really not a lovable character. Like, he's not somebody you really root for throughout. And also, her writing is kind of intense. And I think she does that on purpose. I really do, because it's intense in a way where, like, the words that she uses were just, like, I felt like I had to look up a lot of definitions. Like, it's not like a super easy read, but it's well worth it. It's very, very good. The plot twist at the end was fantastic. So basically the premise is this. He's teaching at this MFA program at Ripley College, and he's feeling all low, he's feeling like, oh my gosh, my life sucks. And one of his students, so basically all of his students are crap writers. I mean, he knows that they're not going anywhere, like, and he tries to like help them and like give them tips, and none of them want to hear him, and they think they're the best thing since sliced bread, and he just has no interest in like anything to do with these people, even though he's their teacher. And there's this one guy, one of his students, who like he thinks he's like the hottest shit on campus, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna be they're gonna make movies out of my book, and I've got the best plot ever, and blah blah blah. And Jake was like, okay, then what is it? And the guy's like, oh, I can't tell you because then you're gonna steal it and this and that. And Jake's like, okay, whatever. And then finally he convinces him to tell him what the plot is, and Jake's just like, oh my god, that's going to be a movie. Like, that's going to be on the bestsellers list. That's going to be number one. Like, that is the best plot ever. Ergo, the name, The Plot. And so he's feeling even worse. He's like, oh, why can't I have good ideas like this kid? And he's like, really in his feelings about it. And so then the story jumps forward, I think, like 2 years. And he's like, what? Where is this book? Like, why hasn't this book come out? Did the dude not write it? Like, that's like the best plot ever. Like, where is this book? And so he searches this kid's name from on Google or whatever, and he finds an obituary. And the kid died, like, I think a month after the MFA program ended. And he's like, he died. Well, what about his plot? And he's like, he tries to like contact all these people that the kid knew so that to find out if anybody, because the kid was very secretive about his work. He wouldn't let anybody read it. He didn't even really tell anybody the plot. He only told Jake. And so Jake's like, oh my God, I can steal this plot and nobody will know, because he was so secretive. He didn't tell anybody. Like, he wouldn't, you know what I mean? And so he does. He uses it. And it's not like, so it's basically plagiarism, but is it? Because it's just a plot line. He didn't steal any of the writing. All of the writing was his own. But the plot, he didn't have the idea himself. So the whole book is kind of like, is this plagiarism or is it not? So anyway, he writes this book and it shoots to the top of the bestsellers. It's like an instant hit, and he has achieved like Stephen King fame. Like, he's just like on top of the world. And then one day he gets, I think it's an email, maybe not an email, maybe a comment on like, I don't know if it was some sort of internet like thing. I think maybe it was an email. And so it just simply says, you are a thief. And he's just like, oh my God, somebody knows. Like, and so this whole book is about like him like unraveling, because he's got to figure out what's going on, but he can't share with anyone, like his agent. He can't tell anybody because the fallout from that would be terrible. So he's got to try to like figure this out on his own. And oh my gosh, it gets bad for him. And so in the ending, the plot twist was really good, which I thought was cool because it's called The Plot. And the twist in his book was really good, and the twist at the end of this book is really good. So kind of like a story within a story, kind of like The Woman in the Library. And then, so that one I read a couple months ago. Now, the one that I got just the other day was, I saw this at the Goodwill, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the sequel to The Plot. So had to get that, read it right away, and I honestly liked this one a lot better. This one, oh gosh, I really can't tell you too much because it continues off of the plot line from that book, and the plot twist kind of like changes what the storyline is in this one. There's not really much I can say about it, but I do want to say that the writing is easier to understand. Like, the pretentiousness isn't played up as much in this one. I got through this one much quicker than I got through the plot. But the other thing I liked about this one was all of the chapter names are all sequels to famous works. Like, let me see if I can pull one up. Like, this one is this chapter is called Ready Player 2. So, like, Ernest Cline's Ready Player 1. And then there's More Tales of the City. I don't know who that one is by. Let's see. The Promise? I don't know who that one is by either. Oh, geez. I think there's a list of it in the back. But yeah, okay. It Starts With Us is the first chapter. From the sequel to It Ends With Us. No Longer at Ease or sequel to Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. Little Men, which is the sequel to Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I didn't know that was a sequel. Sun, which is the sequel to The Giver by Lois Lowry. A One Good Turn, which is the sequel to Case Histories by Kate Atkinson. I love Kate Atkinson. Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining by Stephen King. oh, Bring Up the Bodies, which is the sequel to Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. That's on my my TBR. I gotta read that soon. Yeah, so, oh, Son of a Witch, which is the sequel to Wicked by Gregory Maguire. Yeah, so I thought that was really cool, like, all of the chapters, and they have a list of it in the back, all of the, what the, title, or this, what those sequels are of, if you didn't, like, because I obviously didn't know some of them, so. But the ending pissed me off. Oh, the ending pissed me off. Again, I can't really say too much about it, so don't want to ruin anything, but I would read these books. This one first, then this one. And if you get discouraged while reading this one, I push through it. I almost put it down. I almost DNF'd it a couple times because I think, and a lot of times when I read, it has to match my mood. Like, if I am in the mood for like a really easy read and I try to read something like this, I'll DNF it and come back to it later because I know that it's something, it's like a mood thing. It's like a vibe thing. So I almost DNF'd it a couple times, and then what I did was just set it aside and come back later. And I'm glad I did that because I ended up really loving it. And, yeah, and then this one, loved it. I thought this one was way better too. So anyways, that's all I got. Hopefully I'll be able to do another video because I'm reading a lot. I have a lot more that I want to review. I think I've got like 15 books I want to review, but that's way too many for one video. Anyway, so maybe in a couple weeks I'll do another one, but leave any comments if you have anything that you think I'd like, and thank you for watching.